أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Inshallah, today we'll be going through the interpretation of the meanings of Surah Al Baqarah. There's a few points that I wanted to make first. In any interpretation, it is opinion based. Regardless of whether the person has cited other people, the person would have cited these other people based on opinions. So it's best to take your interpretations from numerous sources and not to take one interpretation as the definitive source of all of your information. Wallahu alam. Islamicstudies.info, there is lots of knowledge on there, not just interpretations about Islam, about Sunnah, many things, lots of resources on there. So it would be a good place to look into. The Clear Quran is a very good translation of the Quran. People who are not Arabic speakers can read the Quran and hopefully understand it a bit better, inshallah. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Alif Lam Mim. There are many surahs in the Quran that start with just letters. For example, Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad, Surah Maryam. Alif Lam Ra, Surah Ibrahim. Alif Lam Mim, Surah Al Imran. All of these surahs and many more start with just letters. We have not been given enough information to make a evidenced and concrete explanation for the meanings of these letters. So some things are best left to the unseen. And there is beauty in not understanding certain things that Allah has sent down. There's beauty in just their recitation. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That is the book, no doubt within it, guidance for the muttaqeen, the mindful and considerate. So ذَلِكَ يُشِيرُ إِلَى شَيْءٍ. It points to something. Islam was not widespread at the time of the death of the Prophet ﷺ, and it really wasn't widespread until maybe the Khilafah of Umar. So for it to be pointing to the Quran could be a way of seeing it. Al-Kitab can mean the book. However, in certain contexts in the Quran, Al-Kitab is also used along with the word Al-Hikmah, which means wisdom, and in that context it means laws. So it could mean either. لا ريب فيه, no doubt within it. هدى للمتقين. So no doubt within this book, or within the laws in this book, there is guidance for the mindful or considerate. Now, who are the mindful or considerate? الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Some conditions on who the mindful or considerate are: those who believe in the unseen, الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة, and they establish their prayers, ومما رزقناهم, and from what we have made available for them, ينفقون, they spend or give. The final part of this ayah doesn't necessarily have to be financial. For example, I may go and see a man and I may say to this man, أخي Assalamu Alaykum, could you teach me from what you've been taught, inshallah? And he may say to me, brother, inshallah, I'll teach you. And he has made available from what he has been provided. Wallahu a'lam. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. And those who believe in what has been brought down to you. Here Allah is speaking to the Prophet ﷺ. وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ, and what has been brought down from before you. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ, and in the hereafter they are certain, or they firmly believe. أُولَئِكَ عَلَى هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Here we see confirmation. So the previous two ayahs give an insight into who al-muttaqeen, or the mindful or considerate, are, and in this ayah we see confirmation. أُولَئِكَ عَلَى هُدًى is they who are on guidance, min rabbihim, from their Lord, وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, and it is they who are successful. So in this first section of ayahs, Allah is speaking about the believers and the mindful. In this particular ayah, Allah is speaking about the disbelievers. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, indeed those who disbelieve, سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ, it is the same over them or against them. أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ, if you warn them, أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ, or you do not warn them, لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, they will not believe. Here Allah is speaking to the Prophet. So the word سَوَاءٌ means it is the same, and then the next word directly after is alayhim, against them. So this means the indifference in these people when they are warned works against them. أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ, if you warn them or don't warn them, لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, they will not believe. The reasoning behind this is in the next ayah. ختم الله على قلوبهم, Allah set a seal over their hearts, وعلى سمعهم, and over their hearing, وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة, and over their sight there is a veil. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, and for them is a great punishment. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. And from the people, they say, we believe in Allah and the final day. They do not believe. يُخَادَعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They deceive Allah and those who believe. وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ. They don't deceive إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ, except for themselves. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. And they do not feel. So they do not feel this. They do not feel that they're deceiving themselves. In the Quran, in many contexts, feelings come from the heart. And if we look to ayah 7, it says, ختم الله على قلوبهم. Allah set a seal over their hearts. So because of this seal over their hearts, they are unable to feel that they're deceiving themselves, rather than their delusion that they are deceiving Allah and the believers. في قلوبهم مرض. In their hearts there is disease, there is sickness. فزادهم الله مرضا. So Allah increased them in disease or sickness. ولهم عذاب أليم بما كانوا يكذبون. And for them is a painful punishment regarding what they used to disbelieve in. So people have been given free will. And with this free will, they can follow the path of Allah, they can stray from the path of Allah, they can do good, they can do bad. Now Allah makes things available for people, and these things sometimes they are a refuge, mawaidah, or an admonition, and sometimes these things are a trial and they may lead the person to stray further. For example, let's say a man is a very arrogant man and he's been given wealth. Allah may afflict this man with a calamity, and this calamity could be an mawaidah, could be an opportunity for him to return and seek the path of Allah and the pleasure of Allah and understand the error of his ways. This man may turn away from this and it may cause him to go worse, and then Allah may also give him lots of wealth, and then it may increase this man's arrogance. Allahu a'lam. في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا. In their hearts is sickness, so Allah increases them in sickness. ولهم عذاب أليم بما كانوا يكذبون. And for them is a painful punishment regarding what they used to disbelieve in. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. And if it is said to them, don't cause corruption in the earth or in the land, قالوا, they said, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ, indeed we are good doers or we are fixers. أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. No, it is them who are the corrupters, however they do not feel. So once again, if we refer to ayah 7, ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم. Allah set a seal over their hearts and over their hearing. And in this ayah we see وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ, and if it is said to them. So for something to be said to someone and for them to not understand or not feel, then there's something wrong with their hearing. And we see Allah set a seal over their hearing, and this is the reason why they could not hear and they could not feel. The seal set over their hearts. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ قالوا أنؤمن كما آمن السفهاء ألا إنهم هم السفهاء ولكن لا يعلمون. And if it is said to them, believe as the people believe, they say, should we believe as the fools believe? ألا إنهم هم السفهاء. No, it is them who are the fools. ولكن لا يعلمون. However, they do not know. Once again, it is said to them, وإذا قيل لهم آمنوا كما آمن الناس. Believe as the people believe. So they have been given an example in front of them of believing people. And if they were people who were genuinely considerate or mindful of Allah, they would see the example in front of them, and they would follow this example, or at least take inspiration from this example. However, Allah is detailed in ayah 7, وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ, and over their sight a veil. Meet the believing people, قَالُوا آمَنَّا, they say we believed. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ, and if they go back to shayatinihim, can mean, obviously people know the word shaitan, it can mean evil, it can mean devils. It can also mean people who incite a feeling within someone which isn't necessarily good, which may not have a good outcome. If I am with someone, and maybe for example I walk away from an argument and they say to me, yo, how do you feel about that though, man? I feel like maybe you should have dealt with that a bit differently, maybe next time you shouldn't be so easy about it. Shayateen. قالوا إنا معكم, they say we are with you. So this is what they say to their shayateen. قالوا إنا معكم, we are with you. إنما نحن مستهزئون, we're only making a mockery, we're only humiliating these people. الله يستهزئ بهم ويمدهم في طغيانهم يعمهون. Allah makes a mockery of them and prolongs them in their transgression to wander blindly. So Allah here is making a mockery of the people who believe that they are making a mockery of the believers. And we have seen throughout this section of the surah, ختم الله على قلوبهم, Allah has placed a seal over their hearts, وعلى سمعهم, and over their hearing, وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة, and over their sight there is a veil. And through this section of the surah, we've seen how this plays out. لا يشعرون, they do not feel. لا يعلمون, they do not know. All of these things, and within this they have this delusion that they are some kind of one step ahead, or they have some kind of knowledge or understanding can allow them to deviate from the path of Allah, and that through this they are doing something right. وَيَمُدُّهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ, and He prolongs them in this transgression to wander blindly. unable to see the error of their ways. أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى. It is them who have bought straying for the price of guidance. فما ربحت تجارتهم. So their trade was not successful. وما كانوا مهتدين. And they were not guided. Guidance is mentioned twice. And if we look to the first section of the surah, we see ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. That is the book, no doubt within it, guidance for the mindful. So the book has been made available, the laws have been made available for people, and there is a sabil, there's a way for people to become guided, and it's outlined. However, these people have gone around their own way and found their own way to do things, or assume that they found their own way to do things, and have done it blindly, and assume that they would be guided through this. وَمَا كَانُوا مُهْتَدِينَ. And they were not guided. مَثَلُهُمْ كَمَثَلِ الَّذِي اسْتَوْقَدَ النَّارَ. Their example is like the example of one who kindled a fire. If we look at the previous ayah, they have made a trade. They trade straying for guidance, something that came from themselves for something that came from Allah. And here they have kindled a fire. فَلَمَّا أَضَاءَتْ مَا حَوْلَهُ. When it has lit up what is around the person, مَا حَوْلَهُ ذَهَبَ اللَّهُ بِنُورِهِمْ. Allah left with their light. وَتَرَكُهُمْ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. And left them in darkness, unable to see. This time we see that this group of people have been likened to one person. However, there's still a plural or a group of people mentioned within this example. So who could the group of people in this example be? The single person in this example represents the children of Israel. And they have kindled a fire, i.e. the way of Allah, the authority in the deen, we'll say, Wallahu A'lam. And it has lit up what is around them. And now Allah is left with their light and left them in darkness, unable to see. And we will see some reasons as to why in the next ayahs, inshallah. Summun bukmun umyun fahum la yarja'un. Deaf, dumb and blind, so there is no return. Deafness means they can't hear. Dumb means they are unable to speak. And blind means they cannot see. فَهُمْ لَا يَرْجَعُونَ. So there is no return for them. Some people may interpret this ayah as there's no return for them to come back to the deen. So as in, if someone is from the children of Israel, they may not ever find Islam. However, the Sahaba, some of them were Jewish people and they came to Islam. If you look at it in terms of the authority in the deen, it may look slightly different. So for example, if we look at the previous books, they were sent to the children of Israel. And they were sent to the children of Israel. How? They were sent Musa alayhi salam, Moses. The Torah, Tawrat, Al-Injil, the Gospel was sent with Isa, Jesus. Az-Zabur, the Psalms were sent with David. All these prophets were sent to the children of Israel. So here we see Summun Bukmun Umyun. In terms of this authority, deaf, dumb and blind, فَهُمْ لَا يَرْجَعُونَ. So there is no return for them as the authority in the deen. In this ayah, we start with aw, or. When we see an example and then or given after it, it means there's further information given in this next example. Or like a rainstorm, min as-sama', from the sky, fihi dhulumatun, within it there is darkness, wa ra'dun, and thunder, wa barq, and lightning. يَجْعَلُونَ أَصَابِعَهُمْ فِي آذَانِهِمْ. They place their fingers in their ears, min as-sawa'iqi, from the thunder claps, حَضَرَ الْمَوْتِ, in fear of death. وَاللَّهُ مُحِيطٌ بِالْكَافِرِينَ. And Allah is all encompassing of the disbelievers. In this example now we see that there is a rainstorm from the sky, and within this rainstorm there's darkness, there's thunder, and there's lightning. Now the thunder may be equal to Allah's commands, very loud. When they're heard, it's very scary. Wabarq, and lightning, Allah's clear signs. So we see these signs and they are very evident. The way of dealing of these particular people is what led to the signs being revealed in this way. And signs had been made much more subtle and with love and care and compassion. So their way of dealing with this, يَجْعَلُونَ أَصَابِعَهُمْ فِي آذَانِهِمْ. They plug their hands in their ears, مِنَ الصَّوَاعِقِ, from the thunder claps, حَضَرَ الْمَوْتِ, in fear of death. وَاللَّهُ مُحِيطٌ بِالْكَافِرِينَ. And Allah is all encompassing of the disbelievers. So rather than trying to hear and remember that Allah is all loving and remember that Allah is the most forgiving, these people plug their ears, focus on death rather than tawakkul. And Allah is encompassing of the disbelievers. يَكَادُ الْبَرْقُ يَخْطَفُ أَبْصَارَهُم. Lightning, it's as if it wants to steal their sight. كُلَّمَا أَضَاءَ لَهُمْ مَشُوا فِيهِ. Every time it has become light has been made available, light is around them, they walk within it. مَشُوا فِيهِ. وَإِذَا أَظْلَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ. Darkness falls on them. قَامُوا. They stand still. So this time now we see that the signs of Allah become so very evident. So every time that these signs are shown, they walk within this light. وَإِذَا أَظْلَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ, and when it becomes dark, قَامُوا, they stop. So there's no tawakkul, there's no I will keep walking regardless, as I know Allah is doing the best for me. The path is with Allah and I believe and I will walk. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَذَهَبَ بِسَمْعِهِمْ وَأَبْصَارِهِمْ, and if Allah had willed, He could have left with their hearing and their sight. Would these people have rather that they have no commands from Allah and no signs, regardless of how scary and fearful it may be? Allah could have left them with none of this. Allah could have left altogether. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. So Allah could have stopped the sending of prophets. Allah could have stopped the sending of revelations. Allah could have stopped the clear signs given to them. And Allah is capable of doing this. So we see that the authority within the deen was with a group of people, and these people have been entrusted, and there is responsibility on them to share this deen with those around, and they have been trusted with this responsibility by Allah. They've also been trusted to preserve the books that they have been given, the Torah, and the Injil, the Bible. The Quran is the only book that has been preserved by Allah, and the Quran came with a promise. Allah will preserve it letter by letter, tashkil by tashkil, everything, until the day of resurrection, ila yawm al-qiyamah. However, the Torah, the Psalms, the Gospel, the Bible, mankind had a responsibility to preserve these books, and they were not preserved.